Welcome back to a walk through the tarot. This is card 18, the moon. It has no light of its own and is an archetype for everything hidden in the shadows of the subconscious self. In the previous video, the Fool met the star who offered him a moment of respite where he'd felt whole and complete, but the experience was only temporary. He has to return to the world of consciousness, and the moon is the bridge he must cross to get there. It may be a difficult journey, so let's explore the background to this card, examine its symbols and see what messages it has for the Fool as he reaches the centre of the final row of cards. Some early decks reflected the scientific revolution. This was led by astronomer Copernicus. He suggested the Earth revolved around the Sun and was not the centre of the universe as previously thought. Other cards show Artemis, the moon goddess of ancient Greece, who was known for hunting deer in the forest by moonlight. In the Budapest tarot, a man holds up a full and a quarter moon. He's thought to be the Titan god Atlas, punished by Zeus to hold the sky up for eternity. These different versions travelled across Europe in the 17th century. In France, an early tarot by Jacques Vievel shows a woman with a spindle. The link to the moon remains speculative, but maybe the repetitive act of spinning is a form of trance whereby access is gained to the moon's world of unconscious thoughts and dreams. The Parisian tarot from the mid-1700s shows a man playing a harp to a naked woman on a balcony, watched by the moon. It might represent romantic love, no one is sure, but the majority of Marseillaise-style cards from this time show a lunar landscape with dogs or wolves and a shell-backed creature in a pool of water. Philosophers like Pliny the Elder had long associated the moon with moisture. It was claimed the moon caused madness or lunacy by increasing moisture levels in the brain, which may explain the drops on many of the French cards. Wolves were known to howl during the full moon and were associated with the nighttime worlds of werewolves, witches and vampires, while the creature in the water might be a crayfish or lobster, both nocturnal and only coming out at night to forage. French occultist Antoine Court de Gebelin retained the Marseillais image, changing only the context to fit with his claims that tarot originated in ancient Egypt. He aligned the card with Isis, known as a moon goddess. De Gebelin renamed the pillars as the Pillars of Hercules, which he identified as the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn, and he called the falling drops the tears of Isis, saying the moon represented inner primal forces rising to the surface. A century later, Eliphas Levi added the path that leads beyond the pillars and called the card the dark night of the soul. For Levi, the water was the abyss or subconscious mind, full of dark thoughts and emotions, hidden from conscious awareness but still influencing actions. For Swiss occultist Oswald Wirth, the moon was full of hidden risks and dangers. Wirth said the moon offered a glimpse into a universe of foundational chaos where balance had to be found between creation and destruction. The Waite-Coleman-Smith moon card also retained similar images, but the creature is now emerging from the pool, which represents the waters of the inner subconscious self. Waite reinterpreted the falling drops as divine sparks and claimed they were intellectual light being brought down to illuminate the inner primeval natures. The two dogs or wolves symbolise these tendencies, which had to be identified and calmed. Waite's moon had 32 rays, 16 light and 16 dark, which showed the dualities of life. The moon is another complex card, so let's take a closer look at its symbolism. The creature emerging from the water wears its own home in the form of a shell. Wherever he goes, the Fool takes himself with him, and he is now face to face with his deepest subconscious level, the place where everything he's felt unable to cope with has been repressed. The howling dogs or wolves stand for his own wild nature or true self, But the falling drops signify hope, because no matter how bad things might seem, divine grace is always present. The path disappears into the distance. It marks the way home, which the fool must follow, but he doesn't yet realise this. The moon watches his progress. He is on the dark side in more ways than one. Not only is he dependent on the moon for light, he also needs to overcome its influence, both now and in the future. So let's take a look at the messages this card might have for him. Up until now, the fool has learned to see both sides of the binary constructions through which he understood the conscious world. But as he progressed, the star showed him everything was also a unified whole. It still contained oppositions, but he can now see these as a completion rather than division. It looks as if the path has no obvious destination, and the moonlight makes it impossible to know which direction to take, and not knowing which way to go can result in further confusion and fear. But the fool is like the creature emerging from the water, which represents the depths of the subconscious mind. He's trying to climb out of the pool, back into the world of consciousness, but is struggling to get a grip on solid land. The star gave the fool a taste of divinity. He saw the pool of universal energy being poured onto both earth and water, returning to its point of origin. The fool had felt integrated. Beyond the control of his layers of unconsciousness, he was whole and complete. But the star was only a temporary respite. There's no direct path from the star back to the fool's conscious self, and the moon is shining direct light onto all that's been repressed. He's face to face with who he truly is and can feel the discomfort. He's facing his dark side. Without the protection of the star, the moon has released the fool's anxieties and brought them to the surface, and now he needs to use the knowledge he's gained to understand their roots and causes. Through knowledge and a deeper understanding, the negative and positive layers of self can be integrated. A careful examination of fear can lead to its dilution, because just as the moon represents the exposure of negative thoughts and emotions, it can also translate them in ways which are more manageable. By facing his demons, our fool can diminish or banish them completely, and this is what he has to do. In order to return to the world he experienced with the star, he needs a path, and the moon is the bridge he has to cross before he can get back to where he started. The path leads between two pillars, and it's no longer an outward journey, but a return. The moon is an object of beauty, as well as a symbol for madness, and now the fool can look at it with new eyes. To see it as a place where he faced fear and survived. There is always calm after the storm. Yet again, our fool has been tested and survived. The waters are still. The creature has struggled out of the pool, and the path in the distance now has a destination. The next card he'll meet on his journey is number 19, the sun. The light of the world will bring to the surface everything he's experienced so far, but this time the fool will be back in the world of conscious awareness. So join us for the next step on a walk through the tarot.